Ah, you know, Greg Heffley really is one of the greatest people who's ever existed. Except for me, of course. And I'm
Jefferson Lardo.
And speaking of Greg Heffley and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I figured I'd treat you guys to a ranking of every single book ever written. That's Diary of a Wimpy Kid, of course. Here's my collection. I have all 15 Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, and then the less superior Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid books by that loser Rowley Jefferson. I didn't even want to give these the time of day, but I figured, I could give these a quick little review. Now this one is really stupid. And this one's really stupid, but it's like a fairy tale, so that's even stupider because fairy tales are stupid. That was easy. Now, let's get to the meat of it. Starting with my least favorite, the one you saw me reading just a second ago. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Double Down. Now, the thing about this book is of all the books, I went over every single book. I reread every single book, did it in about
30 seconds.
This book is horrible. I didn't know what it was about when I picked it up to reread it. I couldn't remember any big plot points, and when I read it to find the big plot points, they were non-existent. This book is bland. This book is anticlimactic. This book is just, you feel me? Good, good. Now this book, The Third Wheel, this is kind of a special book, you see? Because I really connect with Greg in this book. I like this story because it's just him trying to navigate through Valentine's Day. He's trying to find a Valentine. Now that's something I can relate to. But they just play him. They play him the fool. They make him look like an idiot. His friend is happy. His friend gets a girl, but he just can't manage to get one for himself. He's trying his goddamn best, and they play him a fool. I like this book, but I have to put it at the bottom of my list because of All right, now, right here we have the second to most recent book in the series, Wrecking Ball. Now, as you can see, there's a wrecking ball on the cover, and wouldn't you know it, I guess there's not a wrecking ball in the actual pages, but here's the thing about it. The story is good, but this is where I start to use some bias. Because when I was reading this book, I'm not going to give away too much, but the gist of it is Greg Heffley was going to move away from his friends and family. Now, everything gets resolved. I'm not going to exactly say quite how, but when I was reading this, I was very distressed because I really thought that one of my favorite characters was going to lose his friends, lose his family. And even though I can say objectively that it's a good book, personally, it's closer to the end of the list for mine. Now, the most recent, The Deep End. This is a phenomenal book. Oh, but Ryan, why is it all the way to... Shut up, shut up, shut up! Okay, sorry about that, guys. Like I was saying, this is a phenomenal book, but it happens to be towards the end of my list. Now, why is that? Well, there are two different books in this series, besides this one, The Getaway and The Long Haul, that are more or less the same story in a different book. Now, I don't want to say that Jeff Kinney is running out of ideas, but come on, the guy's written 15 books. What do you want him to do? Nevertheless, I have to put what is essentially the third book that is identical towards the end. Now, this might surprise some people, but Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days is quite low on the list. And this is just a personal thing. I've had this collection since I was in the first grade. That's more than a decade. And in that decade, I can confidently say that of the original 5, this book has been read the least. And that's simply because there's not a lot going on in this book. He goes to the beach with Rowley. He does the shtick where he puts the $5 bill through the boardwalk. Oh, well, you gotta go faster than that, like the State Farm commercial. It's not very interesting. Now, it's a classic, and I hate to put a classic this low, but I got it. Speaking of classics that are rather low, the original. Now, this book was revolutionary. It changed my life. I wanted to be Greg Heffley. But the fact of the matter is, first grader Jefferson Lardo couldn't be as cool as Greg Heffley. So it changed the way I wanted to act, but it didn't change my life entirely. And also, it's kind of a setup for what goes on in Roderick Rules. That's what it basically is. He mentions it at the beginning, sets it up at the end, and then the story continues in Roderick Rules. And this is just basically an introduction to all the characters and all the ins and outs of the Wimpy universe. So it's not this low on the list because it's bad. It's this low on the list because it's just the first one, and there are better ones after it. Now, The Ugly Truth, when I was growing up, one of my personal favorites. Because I think there's a story in here. Yeah, the lock-in. You see right here? They're all at the lock-in. It mentions that Greg likes cherry sours, and I liked cherry sours when I was a young lad, so I was like, oh yeah! You know what I'm saying? But it's fallen a little bit down the list, and that's not its fault. That's just because there have been some more books that came out before it, and of course books came after it that were better. But overall, this book is pretty solid. There's a little bit of turmoil between Greg and Rowley, but that's resolved. I always like to see that. And if you could zoom in right here, please. Right here. You see where my finger's pointing? Why aren't you zooming in?
Because I'm gonna do it in pose, I'm not gonna do it here.
You fucking idiot. There's an egg. Yeah. Now, The Last Straw. This is probably my second favorite of the original 5, 6 kind of books. This one I really do like. There is a lot of suspense in this. As you can see, if you zoom in right here, he's in the hallway in his underwear. That's pretty. Stop talking! Sorry about that, folks. Got the blood pressure down to normal. And now we're back reviewing The Last Straw. So, one of the overarching themes in this book, and a lot of the best Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, is a considerable amount of strain between Greg and his relationships with the superior males in his life, be it Roderick or, in this case, his father. His father's threatening to send him off to military school. No good. But Greg, he tries his doggone bestest to avoid that fate, and I guess you just have to read it to figure out if he goes to the military. Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever. Now we're starting to get into the cream of the crop. We are getting dangerously close to the top 5, and our journey begins with Cabin Fever. So you guys know what The Shining is. Man and his family go to a haunted hotel. They're locked in there for the winter. They slowly start to go insane together. And what do you know? Jack Nicholson gets an axe and goes on a kill crazy rampage. Now what you don't know, you do not know that it was based off this book right here, Cabin Fever. You want to know why? Greg and his family locked in a house for the winter. They start going insane, you feel me? He starts wearing his Halloween costumes because his clean clothes are running out. He eats ketchup for dinner. Manny, what does Manny do? He takes the fuses out of the fuse box and puts all the power in his room. All the heat, all the warmth. He takes all the food. He's gone off the rails. This book, twists and turns, I apologize. Psychological thriller. It honestly left me in a cold sweat. Read it. Good book. Good book. Now, Here is The Getaway. Again, this is a more recent book. This is the 12th book in the series, and it's about a vacation gone awry. The Deep End, 3 books later, vacation gone awry. You see what's going on with this theme. But this book is much better than The Deep End because this time they're in a foreign land. They go to the Bahamas. How do you say it?
Bahamas.
They go to the Bahamas, and it's pretty crazy what they get up to. And the hotel they're staying at's got no windows, so critters are always crawling in and out of their giblets, going all over the place. There's a tarantula that makes a couple of appearances. Don't even get me started about the banana boat or how Greg ended up on the nude beach with a camera, which is no good. This book, it's pretty interesting. Oh, they also like float out to sea, get picked up by the Coast Guard, whatever. Very interesting. Top 5 alert! Top 5 alert! Here we got The Meltdown. Now, The Meltdown is essentially Game of Thrones, Diary of a Wimpy Kidified. So, yet again, much like Cabin Fever, a snowstorm sweeps through wherever the hell they live. I don't know where they live. It's like, stop talking!
What are you doing? Fucking Muppet.
Cut the camera.
Sorry.
Is it still rolling? I told you to turn it off.
It will fix it in post, sir.
Let's get this show on the road. The Meltdown. Snowstorm. Okay. In The Get Down, the 13th book in the series, a snowstorm whips through the town that Greg Hessley lives. As such, he cannot go to school as it would be dangerous for school buses to drive in these conditions. So, he and the kids on Surrey Drive, which is where he lives, try to make the most of it. But here's the thing. Surrey Drive has a flat side and a hillside. Now the hill kids, they can't play summer sports because if they drop a ball or something like that, it'll roll down the hill. But the flat kids can. Now the flat kids, when it snows, they can't ride their toboggans because they're on a flat plane. However, the hill kids can. So in the dynamic of 2 seasons, these 2 communities have had a significant amount of confrontation, and they now have a little bit of a rivalry going. So, when this snowstorm hits, all HE double hockey sticks breaks loose. I'm talking the hill kids and the flat kids. I swear to God, it's like another civil war, except like even worse. And because of like a better reason, because they just want to use their toboggans, you know? But listen to this, they make an ice wall in the middle of the street. I'm talking like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, a wall of ice. They're dumping garbage bags full of slush on these poor kids trying to climb the ice. They're stabbing them with fucking icicles. It's like unbelievable. Unbelievable. Very good book. Very like a high climax. There's a lot of climaxing in this book. So I'd give it a read if I were you. Roderick rules. This right here, best of the original 5. This is the pinnacle of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Like, a lot of people might say that this is his best. Some people might say that Jeff Kinney peaked all the way at the beginning. I'm not a part of that camp. I think he peaked around the 8, 9, 10 books area. But nevertheless, this thing is fantastic. Remember when I was discussing the original, I kind of alluded to a little bit of a plot that ran through it, and that plot was Roderick found Greg's diary. And what is Greg to do? He runs, he grabs it, he runs to the bathroom of his grandfather's retirement home. He tears the pages out of the book one by one and flushes them down the toilet, destroying all evidence so Roderick can't make fun of him. But what happens? He sees an old woman come in the bathroom. Okay, she's got fucking dementia. She's some old lady and she walked in the men's restroom. Another woman walks in. He's in the women's restroom. He gets dragged out of there once they catch him. And here's the thing, it gets caught on the security cams of the lobby, which Roderick gets a hold of. Roderick really does rule. Roderick has a chance to destroy his entire reputation. And when he has that chance, he pounces. Give it a breed. Changed my life. Old school. Old school, baby. Old school. This was a fantastic book. So it starts with his mom, as she often does, trying to be old school. She says, let's not use our technology for a weekend, she says. And of course, Greg, he's a technology man. He's gotta watch his PewDiePie. He's gotta go on r/wholesome chungus. He's gotta, yeah, you know what he's gotta do. But anyway, his mom says, no, you can't do any of that. You gotta go clean up the playground with the Girl Scouts. And you know Greg, he likes girls, but he doesn't like these Girl Scouts. So he's like, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. And then something happens and the toothpaste cap gets stuck down in the pipe and he tries to loosen it and shit starts flying all over the place. And then he crashes his dad's car and his only escape is to go to a summer camp where it is very old school. No technology, no nothing. He's forced to survive with 4 other boys, ice cold showers, rock hard beds, ice cold nights. Did I say ice cold already? Doesn't matter, it was cold. And then, here's the kicker. They hear about Silas Scratch, the man in the woods with disgustingly long fingernails that he uses to slash the throats of his victims, to brutalize the animals of the forest that he then eats the innards of. And it essentially becomes a survival story of these boys versus this monster. Give it a read. Now you'll notice something about the second best book on my list. It's a hardcover. I mean, not a hardcover, everything. Shut the fuck up. I swear to God, if you start talking when I'm doing my thing.
You do your thing. You do your thing. Dude, don't talk.
Shut up! You know what? We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse us. We're having technical problems. They should be corrected in a moment.
How the hell you work this thing? Now, you look at Hard Luck. What's different about it? Well, ironically, it's not a hard cover. It's actually paperback. Yeah, and I got paperback because I guess Mom said something about getting laid off. She didn't have the money to buy the hardcover. I don't know what she was spewing. I'm pretty sure it was bullshit. She just doesn't fucking love me enough to get me a full hardcover copy of the entire series. But nevertheless, this soft, just really personification of son loathing that my mom has. It's one of my favorite books in the entire series. You see, you got all these magic 8 balls. You know, the ones you go. Does broad at the school like me? And it says results unclear. Ask back later. And you're just like, okay. Well, Greg does that increasingly more and more. First, he just says, should I do this? Yes or no? Should I do this? Should I do this? And eventually, he starts basing his entire life off of that magic 8 ball. Now, sometimes it works, and sometimes he finds an Easter egg with his great-grandma's diamond ring in it, worth many, many thousands of dollars. So he just kind of gives up, or he gives himself to the 8 ball. And it's oddly calming, seeing a man who's so strong, who's so set in his ways. Just kind of be at peace, kind of rest. Very calming, very good book. Very good book. And here we are at the end of our journey. I've mentioned twice before that there were books that were essentially identical. And this was the first and best of those identical books, The Long Haul. Now, I'm gonna have to take a seat for this. His mom, as she often does, wants family time. Greg, as he often does, doesn't want family time. But as the middle schooler, he gets roped into it nonetheless. They start going, they start trucking. And what do you know? They don't get to paradise. They get to a crappy motel. So what do you do from there? Well, you go to the pool, trying to make the best of it. But oh no, a bunch of fat, hairy, just lard balls are in the pool. What are you gonna do? You gotta go back to the room. At this point, it's too late, you gotta go to sleep. But what happens? The children of those hairy lard balls in the pool are making a ruckus outside. So you go out and give them a piece of their mind. But Daddy Beardo, that's what they called him, he had a large beard. Daddy Beardo comes out and he's looking to kill. So you flee. The next morning you get out of there as fast as you can before he comes looking for you. You go to the state fair, but who's there? Daddy Beardo. Did you feel that? I felt that too when I was first reading it. This book has, it really gets a hold over you once you get into it. But the county fair, it goes rather smoothly. The Beardos don't get anywhere. But Manny, what does Manny do? Manny wins a contest, wins himself a live baby pig. Now the baby pig, from book 9 onward, very significant character. So this introduction really gave this book a boost. So after the state fair, they keep going, keep running crappy hotels, keep trying to get by, until they get to a water park. Now, what are you going to do at a water park? You're just going to have a good time, right? But oh no, is that the Beardo's car at this very same water park? You better lay low, just in case. Oh, and here, by the way, here's the key to our locker with all of our valuables in it, our technology, our credit cards. Make sure you don't lose it. And what do? You lose it, of course. Oh, twists and turns, ups and downs, and I'm not even done. So, no technology, no money. What's family forced to do? They're forced to try to get home on what little they have. And of course, all their stuff, everything that they own, besides their money and technology, it starts flying out of the trailer that they got on the way home. Everything's just coming out. All of their stuff on the side of the highway, they're going around trying to pick up all their stuff. They just need to get home. This has been a long haul, and they run over a broken bottle. No good. Now you're stranded on the side of the highway, no money, no clothes, far from home. What are you going to do except stand in horror as a car that matches the Beardos drives up? Now, I'm not done with the book quite yet, but I don't think I'm going to spoil the end. I think I'm going to leave you on that cliffhanger. I've said this for all the other books. Give it a read. But this one, I mean it more than any. That was oddly cathartic, wasn't it? I feel as though I poured my soul out onto this video. And I apologize that I lost my anger so many times. I'd like to apologize to these two wonderful men in here helping me run the show.
Man, it's okay, man.
Shut up!